Today we're going to talk about one of the great all-time cannibals ever put on screen. Let's talk about Hannibal Lecter. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about The Silence of the Lambs. And by the way, happy Halloween. We are 6 days away from the big day. I will have a few more reviews out later in the week. I think I'm going to do Creepshow for my big Halloween review, but I'm also going to do Creature of the Black Lagoon. I'm going to go old school Universal here, because I haven't seen that movie in a while. I have the Blu-ray. I'm going to sit down and watch that, and I'll have a review for that sometime this week as well. So yes, Creature from the Black Lagoon and Creepshow will be out this week leading up to the big day next Saturday. Can't wait. Anyway, we're talking about The Silence of the Lambs. This movie came out February 14th of 1991. How sweet for Valentine's Day, a movie about a cannibal. Can't beat it. It had a $19 million budget. It's an hour and 58 minutes long. It's rated R, obviously. And when it was released that year, it was a huge hit for Orion Pictures. It made $130 million in the US and $272 worldwide. It went on to win Best Picture. Anthony Hopkins won an Oscar for this film. So it was a very well-received film. But it's actually a really good, gritty crime, drama, cannibal film. And we got two tremendously awesome bad guys in this film. We'll talk about them as we go along. Jonathan Demme came in to direct this film. At first, when Orion first bought the rights for this, the book, they bought it for $500,000. They were actually thinking about making it like a low-budget, direct-to-video film. And then Jonathan Demme came on, and then we got Jodie Foster's Clarice Starling on here. We got the great Anthony Hopkins, although at that point, his career was fledgling, and he saw this as a last ditch ever to really break through into mainstream in Hollywood, because he'd worked for years, but he never became a star. He was more like a character actor, and this is the film that really cemented him in mainstream cinema. He plays Dr. Hannibal Lecter, famously. We got Scott Glenn, the great Scott Glenn is Jack Crawford. He's Clarice in the FBI. He's Clarice Starling's mentor, kind of, in the FBI. Anthony Held plays Dr. Frederick Charlton, and he's kind of a dickhead in this film, and he gets what's coming to him at the end of the film. We'll get into that. The great Ted Levine plays James Gumb, or Buffalo Bill, and there's memes all over the place with Buffalo Bill. It's very popular, that character, and Ted Levine knocks it out of the frickin' park. We have Charles Napier from Rambo 2 fame as Lieutenant Boyle, and he meets not a really great end in this film, unfortunately. Roger Corman has a cameo because Jonathan Demme worked for Roger Corman for years at New World Pictures. And George Romero, at the one scene where they're forcibly removing Clarice Starling from talking to Hannibal Lecter when he's in this like ballroom in his cage. George Romero's in the background. You can see him because they filmed most of this in Pittsburgh. And George Romero used to live in Pittsburgh before, well, he's passed away, but he used to do most of his work in Pittsburgh, and Jonathan Demme and George Romero knew each other. So George Romero has a cameo in this film as well. And basically, we meet, at the beginning of this film, we're introduced to Clarice Starling, and she is an FBI trainee, and she wants to be an agent and work in this one division, and Scott Glenn's character is her mentor. And he tells her about they're profiling all the serial killers they have in custody, but there's one that won't talk to them, and that is Hannibal Lecter. And he's this famous, he was a psychiatrist, a highly regarded psychiatrist, and he turned to cannibalism. And very gruesome stuff they talk about, and he wants her to go talk to him. So she goes off to Baltimore to talk to Hannibal Lecter because they think if they can get some information from him, maybe they'll find this Buffalo Bill serial killer who's been leaving bodies in rivers and such. So, and they think he might have, when he was a psychiatrist, he thinks that he might have treated this man. So they want to try to get any information they can about Hannibal Lecter, but he will not talk to any agent they send. So Clarice Starling goes to this mental hospital and down into the basement. And this is where we see Anthony Hopkins in this glass cage almost, this glass cell. Very dreary looking confines. And everybody down there is batshit crazy, obviously. And the doctor, played by Anthony Held, he hits on Starling before he just meets her, and he's like, oh, I could really show you around. You could have a fun time in this town if you have the right guy. Complete scumbag, this guy. And she goes to talk to Hannibal Lecter, and she's told all these things of how he won't talk to anybody. Don't touch the glass. Don't pass anything to him. Don't take anything from him. All this kind of stuff. And she's like, yeah, I got it. And people are underestimating her because she's a trainee, and because she's a woman too. You could tell everybody's kind of a little sexist towards her. But Hannibal Lecter takes to her right away. He likes her directness, her frankness. He kind of respects it. And they have a conversation, and then she leaves, and we see Buffalo Bill kidnap this woman because he pretends he's having a hard time getting this couch into the back of this van, and this woman comes over to help him, and he backs her in, like asks her to get up in the van and help pull it in, and she does, and then he goes in and knocks her out and takes her. And here she's the daughter of a senator. So this is a big deal, and the FBI is all over it. But they think Hannibal Lecter can lead them to Buffalo Bill before he kills her, because Buffalo Bill always kills all of his victims, and are always like chunky women, and they think he's making a suit out of their skin, which they find out later is accurate. He is doing that. But so Clarice goes back and talks to Hannibal Lecter again, and they are getting somewhere, but he's also peeling back her, finding out personal things about her, about how she tells him about how her father got killed. She lived in West Virginia. Her mother passed away. It was just her father was her whole world. He got killed. He was a cop, and then she went off to live with this uncle, I think it was her uncle, in Montana on this farm that had lambs and horses. And by the end of the film, they have such a relationship that she tells him everything about how she couldn't handle the lambs screaming when they'd slaughter them, and she tried to save one, and all this stuff, personal stuff. I don't want to get bogged down on that. As the film goes along, they really ratchet up the tension, and they spend a lot of time telling you how dangerous Hannibal Lecter is. Well, when they move him to this other facility and he has a meeting with the senator, because they're going to give him a new place to stay, new confines, and let him go to a beach once a year for a little bit because he wants to get out of the shithole that he's in. And so Clarice goes to see him, and she gets the final piece of the puzzle. She needs to track down Buffalo Bill. But he lied to the other doctor, played by Anthony Held, about where Buffalo Bill might be, which sends the FBI on a wild goose chase. Well, Hannibal Lecter now is in this cage in this ballroom type, and there's two cops in there watching him at all times. Charles Napier is one of them. And they decide to give him dinner, and he happened to get him something. He happened to get a piece of a pen that the doctor left behind, so that when they handcuff him, he can get loose. And this is where you really see his depravity, how crazy he is. And he lets himself free, and he kills both guards brutally, and then he escapes. And then we're on to Clarice. She finds the house where, she doesn't know it, but she happens to stumble upon Buffalo Bill's house. And we have our final scene of Buffalo Bill's house, and at first Buffalo Bill's like just talking to her normally upstairs, and then she realizes this is the guy, and he knows it too, and he grabs his gun and runs down in the basement, which for him is heaven, but Clarice's hell is about to start as she goes down those steps into this dirty, dank basement where he's keeping his girl in like a pit. And we have a very tense scene where Buffalo Bill cuts off the lights, but he has night vision goggles, and he's messing with Clarice. And finally, he cocks his gun, he's gonna shoot her. She hears it, and she shoots and kills Buffalo Bill, and she saves this woman. And there's a happy ending. They show Clarice graduating from the FBI, and she gets one final call from Hannibal Lecter. And here he's in Jamaica, and so is that doctor, because the doctor knows Hannibal Lecter's gonna come for him. And Hannibal Lecter is basically following him at the end, and that's roll credits, and we know Hannibal Lecter is going to kill this guy because Hannibal Lecter hates him because years of torture this guy's put him through in the hospital. This movie is expertly shot, expertly paced. It moves along at even though it's not action oriented especially towards the end. The last 10-15 minutes is where the action kicks in, but this movie is it moves along at a brisk pace because you're invested in this investigation. You're invested in these characters. You want Clarice to, one, exercise her demons, get a job with the FBI full time, graduate, and be a successful agent, and find this killer and stop him. And then you have Anthony Hopkins' character, Hannibal Lecter, who, when the first time you meet him, he's wild-eyed and he looks crazy, but then he talks, he's so soft-spoken, so smart, so eloquent, and so polite. And he has manners and almost rules, like he will not break certain things, won't do certain things, although he's eaten people and killed people viciously. And we see that later. Like, for all the talk, I'm glad that scene with the two guards and he kills them, I feel that scene was needed. Like, he's been built up like this evil figure. And then we get to see it, how cunning he is and how violent he can be when he wants to be. Although, like I said, when he's just talking to Clarice, he's like this calm, soft-spoken, eloquent-speaking man who's brilliant, but on the inside, he's almost like the devil. But he has a code of honor almost, like he likes Clarice, and she even says towards the end, he wouldn't come after me because he would consider that rude. And it just goes to show you the relationship they had, even though They only have 4 scenes together, but they're spectacular scenes, and they're fascinating to watch, even after all these years, seeing this movie multiple times. And Anthony Hopkins deserved the Oscar. He's fantastic in the role. And he just plays that duality of, you know, soft-spoken, very eloquent, to a raging psychopath. It's just fascinating to watch. And Ted Levine's Buffalo Bill is spectacular. I know the famous one is him just the tuck the sack back, dance around in front of the mirror, the "I fuck me" scene, which is great, and it just shows you how effing crazy Buffalo Bill is. But then you see when she goes in the house that he really is constructing a skin suit to make himself look like a woman because he wants to transform. Crazy ass shit, but fascinating nonetheless how the mind works. Again, when this movie came out and won an Academy Award, it was a huge hit, bigger hit than anybody ever thought. And again, it's just a really well done film. Anthony Hopkins won his Oscar, and he only had 24 minutes of screen time. It was the second shortest performance in a film to win an Oscar, and it's a brilliant performance for sure. I would give Silence of the Lambs, I think I've done enough talking, I would give it a 9.75 out of 10. I think it's that good. I love this film. I think it's a horror film, honestly. I think this movie paved the way for a movie like Seven, definitely, especially in the 90s. Like, this one kicked off the 90s in 91 as this dark thriller horror film with these interesting characters, two great villains, and a heroine that we can root for. So yes, a 9.75 out of 10 for The Silence of the Lambs. What are your thoughts on this film? Leave a comment down below, let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video, I greatly appreciate it. I will be back later in the week with The Creature from the Black Lagoon and Creepshow to finish off our Halloween season. Have a great day. See you next time.